Was our guest speaker here several years ago when we met in the back, and I can remember him projecting pictures on the wall in the village in Africa that he was taking responsibility for. However, he's now focusing on his hometown of Ottawa and trying to get us collectively to do the right thing about why people are... I've never understood it. I can swear I've never bought a plastic bottle of water because I always know that there's a tap somewhere that I can drink out of. And my hands aren't always clean, but what the heck. If I have to cup them and slap drink, I will.
Salvage that one.
So, he's a man of conviction and very well educated, and he's here to tell us about why we should stop buying bottled water in the city of Ottawa, and why the city of Ottawa as a municipality should take some responsibility to lead the charge to break this silly habit that many of us have developed. So thank you, Eric, for doing this, and please, the floor is yours. I want you to stand up, though.
Yeah, I'll stand up. Thank you, Daniel. I'll stand here. I want to talk, Daniel's right. I want to talk about the water in this bottle. It's Dasani, made by Coca-Cola. About 12 years ago, a bunch of us got concerned about this. Half of us were water engineers or water scientists or chemists, and we knew that the water in the tap of Ottawa was excellent. It's constantly regulated. Where'd you like to stand?
Right here.
There we go. There I got to stay here. Because so the waitress can get around me, I guess.
That's it.
Okay. And yet, knowing that the water in the tap was excellent and well regulated, constantly, there was this surge of the sales of bottled water, which began a few decades ago. About 1980, Perrier, they were selling sparkling water, which is carbonated water. And they said, well, why just not sell regular water? They called it clean spring water, which it wasn't, but it was a good name. And they started making a lot of money selling water in bottles. And suddenly everybody said, hey, we should do this too. So Coca-Cola started to make Dasani. Pepsi-Cola started to make Aquafina. Nestle got into this. By the way, the Nestle is a large seller of bottled water. And apparently in one meeting, the CEO of Nestle said, of course we're making a lot of money out of this. It's only water we're selling after all. That's why we're making a lot of money. Then we had Exa, we had Naya, and now other people are, hey, Tim Hortons says, woo, they're starting to sell Tim Hortons bottled water. And Loblaws is selling their water, and everybody's selling water. Why not? It's so low price, and you know what this costs in a store? About $1.80 or maybe even $2. This is half a liter. Now that would make a liter of this stuff $4. You know what gasoline costs for a liter? I saw it for $1. The water is 4 times the price of gasoline, folks. Now, you know what your water in your tap, your highly regulated, excellent quality water costs? Have you looked at your water bill lately? Well, if you check it out, you know what it costs for a whole liter? A whole liter, 2 of these. $0.25 cent. Now this is crazy. Something's wrong here somewhere. So this is what I'd like to talk about. We have excellent, fully regulated water at a very reasonable price being undone by highly branded bottled water that costs, if you do the calculation, about 1,500 times more than your municipal tap water. Is this crazy or what? The better water, okay, I say it's better. In McGill University last year, they said, let's look at the water in these bottles. So they got 5 companies. They got Dasani, they got Aquafina, they got Nestle, they got Exa, and they got Naya. And they did tests on 10 of each of them. And they found in those 50 tests, 30 of them had little bits of microplastic in the water in the plastic bottle. Basically, I can safely say that the quality in a plastic water bottle is no better than the water coming out of your tap, and sometimes it's worse. And yet you're paying 1,500 times more for it. So the question you've got to ask, excuse me, what's going on here? This is a single-use plastic bottle. You use it once and you throw it away. Oh, well, you try and recycle it. You know, the recycling story is amazing. The Canadian Bottled Water Association says, oh yes, we're recycling these. We recycle 70% of them. But when objective research institutes like Polaris and some United States companies try and see, all of them say, we aren't even recycling half of them. More than half end up in the environment. And where do they go in the environment? They go into landfills, I picked this up in the street. You find them in the street and alleys. And a lot of them go by the means of flowing water into the ocean. All water goes back to the ocean, bringing along with it these things. And we probably all know by now there's large islands of plastic floating around in the ocean. In the Pacific Ocean, there's a big swirl, and there's the largest of these islands is the size of France. There are little bits and big bits of plastic the size of France in the Pacific Ocean. In the Atlantic Ocean, there's another island of this stuff. So it's accumulating in the ocean as well as in the land. And studies show if we keep selling more and more of these bottles, and by the way, last year the sales of bottled water went up again. We're waiting for it to start to go down. It has not happened yet. If this keeps on happening, by the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish by weight. Think about it. More plastic in the ocean than fish if we keep doing what we're doing. This is a disaster in the making. And water in plastic bottles is just part of it. You might say, well, wait a minute. You're picking on... Bottled water is just one of many, many things. Plastification of the world is everywhere. We're plastifying food, we're plastifying toys, we're plastifying electric gadgets, and now you're picking on water. Well, you know why? You got to tackle this somewhere. You got to get a first step somewhere. And here you have an excellent alternative. The water coming out of the tap is at least as good, sometimes better than this water, and is much, much cheaper. That's why we're emphasizing the water in the plastic bottles right now, because that's where you can start to tackle this problem. Now, I want to talk about this bottle a bit, because I looked at it carefully. This is the Dasani, and it says in here that this is manufactured by Coca-Cola Refreshments of Canada. Now, I want to see what they're advertising. This is really interesting. This is demineralized water. It's done by reverse osmosis. Now, osmosis is a phenomenon where fresh water will go into more water with higher mineral content and balance it out. Reverse will take the highly mineralized water and push it through a membrane and make it pure. Demineralized water is another word for distilled water. If you take all the minerals out of water, it's distilled. It's the kind of water that falls from the rain with the rain, because when water evaporates, it's only the H2O that goes up. It leaves all the minerals behind. That's why the ocean is so salty, because after billions of years of evaporating from the ocean and going over the land and raining, the ocean keeps having the salt. So if this is demineralized water, which they say it is, and they're very proud of it, this is distilled water. The water out of your tap is not distilled. It has good minerals in it. The water in the tap has calcium and magnesium, about 30 millimeters per liter. That's very soft water. By the way, since when did mineralized water get to be so terrible? Calcium and magnesium Our body needs it. A lot of people drinking this, they take pills of calcium magnesium because the body needs it, but they've taken it out of the tap water. By the way, another interesting fact, you got to get this. Dasani and Aquafina, what is the source of their water? It is the tap itself. Well, look, if you can get it for a quarter of a cent a liter and sell it for $4 a liter, hey, why not just take it out of the tap? Nestle gets most of its water from groundwater, and they almost get it for free. In 2016, in British Columbia, Nestle was paying $2.25 for the privilege of taking 1 million liters of groundwater out of the ground. Now there's a lot of absurdities here. This is the power of corporations to persuade people, oh, let us have the water, we will spread it around in these wonderful plastic bottles. So, this is the story. They're getting it cheap and they're selling it expensive. Now, I'm looking at this again, because this is really, really interesting to read the fine print in this thing. This has no fluorides in it. Oh boy. Well, we got to say a little word about fluorides. People go a bit ballistic about fluorides. Fluorides, some people say, oh, I drink it because there's no fluorides, because fluoride is very dangerous. Fluorides in a very small amount will definitely stop cavities in your teeth. A lot of studies have proven this. Recently, Alaska stopped doing fluorides in 2006, and then they went back now in 2019 and checked it, and the rate of caries had gone up. Well, you might say, well, it could be for other factors. But the World Health Organization advocates fluorides, and the U.S. Center for Diseases, and I'm going to quote here, says, fluoridation of water is one of the 10 great public health achievements of the 20th century. I think if you look at fluorides enough, you say fluorides are very useful in small amounts. Why are people so freaked out about fluorides? I think it's because with a lot of minerals, not just fluorides, but in small amounts they're very effective, they do what they're supposed to. In larger amounts, they get to be dangerous. It's true of fluorides, and I'll explain later, it's true of chlorine also. If you increase the rate of fluorides, we were in Africa, there's a tribe called the Kikuyu, had a lot of natural fluorides in the water, and their teeth were brown and mottled. So as the fluorides go up, your bones get more and more hard and more brittle. And there was fluorides landing on an island in the St. Lawrence, and the cows were eating grass full of fluorides, and their bones became so sharp and brittle they had fluorosis. That's why people say, oh, fluorides are dangerous. Oh, I want something that has no fluorides, which is this. The trouble is, they're taking the extreme case and say a little bit also must be dangerous. That's why a lot of people freak out about fluoride. Let me tell you something about another chemical, chlorine. Have you ever heard of anybody complaining about chlorine? Some might, but not many. Let me show you something. This is a graph, and I'm a water engineer, so I used to teach this stuff. And about 100 years ago, there were all kinds of waterborne diseases. This is a rate of the typhoid water transmission by water. About in 1906, we started to filter the water, passing it through sand, and we dropped the rate of